I am delighted to be here, and I'm particularly delighted to be here on this occasion. We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. This country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested. This country was conquered by those who move forward, and so will space. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
50 years ago, John F. Kennedy posed a challenge to our country to be the first nation to put a man on the moon and return in the next decade. That was a heroic challenge for our country, and we came together as a nation and accomplished what people thought was impossible. We decided that we could propose a similar challenge, that we would be the first nation in the next 10 years to unlock the mysteries of the brain. Instead of going to outer space, we would go to inner space, the galaxy of neurons instead of the galaxy of stars.
I think we're really starting to uncover what people have really hidden behind closed doors, just how common these illnesses are, just how devastating they are, and how much of a toll they take on society. And we basically have no choice, but we've really got to pull together, collaborate and work together to come up with the new treatments, to come up with the new cures, to help humanity.
We're at a moment of time in the effort for more funding for brain-related research. And the moment of time is not simply the burden of illness for all Americans, but most particularly for those set of Americans that can unify us along all party lines. Because when someone wears the uniform of our country, they don't say they're a Democrat or Republican, they say they're an American. So the effort to serve our veterans, saving them from being victim of the traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress that they suffered while serving us, should be what unites America behind the effort for research.
It's unacceptable that over 300,000 of our returning veterans have these illnesses. It's even more unacceptable that more of them are killing themselves due to depression and the effects of these disorders than are dying on the battlefield itself.
What we're learning about this war is that right now it's estimated that 1 in 3 are coming home with psychological or transitional problems, traumatic brain injury, and then of course those who have been physically wounded as well.
When they evac'd me and told me I was done, it was a huge loss on my part, because I left my squad, my guys in Iraq. I left them. I was a E6 staff sergeant in the infantry, and in the Army, that's where the rubber meets the road. So I was a squad leader with 3 combat tours, and it was a huge pill to swallow to start going in and seeing a mental health provider. I felt like I'd failed.
I think what the public doesn't understand is that as the war winds down and more come home, and in California, for example, we're expecting 30,000 a year over the next 3 or 4 years coming back to our state. And if you think 1 in 3 are having problems, we really are looking at a public health issue.
We have great expectations we're going to be able to do something, not in 20 years, not in 10 years, but in a few years. We've got scientific tools that we never had before. Brain imaging techniques that allow us to look inside the brain with clarity that we didn't have before.
We can find medicines that have transformational effects on mental illness, not just suppressing some of the symptoms, but really things that could possibly predict and prevent. So the opportunity finally to begin with imaging, with genetics, with stem cells, to get at what are the real causes of these disorders so that we could possibly begin to find real therapies that change the fate of these disorders and really have a true benefit to society.
My uncle believed that one person could make a difference and everybody should try. And that the spirit of his famous inaugural really elicited an aspirational desire for people to be part of something much bigger than themselves.
The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.